Wellness Through Reading is celebrating 1 year on the channel. And even though it's been a year, I still in some ways feel like a newbie booktuber. Sort of. I cannot believe it's been a year. I really had to stop and think about that. Wow, a full year since I came up with this idea, put it into motion, and just did it. Wellness through reading. Now, if you've been with me for a while, from the beginning, really, you know that this channel was originally called Tanisha's Reading Corner. The reason for the name change is that I just felt like wellness through reading just fit better with the topics that I was thinking about, because really as I was going along I realized that a lot of my book reviews, a lot of my tips and tricks really were about wellness, around how to improve ourselves through reading. So hence the name. However, despite some of this, I gotta say I did get discouraged along the way. Got to a point I felt myself being a little burnt out and also letting the imposter syndrome just take over. What is the imposter syndrome? Well, it is a condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing externally in objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or phony, doubting their abilities. It got so bad that I actually stopped recording the podcast for months, and I honestly didn't think I would come back to it until I got a message from someone from my corporate office, because I got my other job at home, and they stated that their own daughter was listening to my podcast and how it really helped her. And that gave me all the encouragement that I needed to just keep going. Because for the sake of just not wanting to give up and not wanting to, not let down you, the viewers, but also I enjoy this too. But just gotta find better ways of not only doing this channel, but also taking care of me too. So it's been a growing process altogether. Although I gotta say, when having a podcast, it's hard not to do the comparison thing when you're looking and seeing other people's success. But honestly, I just look at that as motivation, really. Sometimes one point it gives you great tips on how to improve yourself, but at worst, it can make you feel like a loser or like you're behind the curve. So one of my daily affirmations I use is I am where I'm supposed to be, but I am working on where I want to be. Just be patient. And that is why I say I'm a booktube newbie, sort of, because while, yes, I've been on the channel for over a year now, I'm just recently now getting comfortable with putting my face on camera and vlogging with you guys. YouTube is, I mean, it's a fun place to be, but can also be a scary place, a lot of harassment and whatnot. But you know what? I'm going to stay strong on this because I feel like this is a channel that can grow, and I hope that you grow with me as well, too. I know that's corny, but if you're new here, you'll love the corniness. We are all about the corny here on the channel. Speaking of new things, so each month what I'm going to do at the start of the month is basically a reading list. Books that I want to read this month, so that way it just keeps me focused. And honestly, if you have a reading list as well too, drop down in the comments what books you're reading, or if we're reading the same books. Let's link up. So, the first book I'm going to read, The Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith, the author of The Cuckoo's Calling, a Cormoran Strike novel. Now, this one, I DNR'd it, do not read, a few years back because it was just hard for me to get into. It was a lot, but honestly, it's a book that I just have to keep coming back to because I want to know more about the series. And because each book goes on the next one. So basically, it's about Cormoran Strike, a detective in London who is going around solving these basically unsolvable crimes not even the police can solve, with his spunky assistant Robin, who he's attracted to, but he keeps the arm's length distance, which doesn't help much because she's super pretty. And so back to the book. Anyhow, So far as I got into the book, they're chasing this guy who basically has it out for Carmen Strike. Carmen Strike trying to figure out what it is, what did I do to you? But he's going around basically cutting open his victims and cutting off their legs. The same leg that Carmen Strike has cut off because he was in the army who lost his leg. That's the same leg the victims. And how he found out about him is that he leaves one of their legs on his doorstep. So yeah. Honestly, I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to read it. I'm just going to finish it. And honestly, this might be a book review. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so the next book that I'm going to read is called Before the Dawn by Beverly Jenkins. I'm reading it on my Kindle. Probably can't see it, so I'll post a picture somewhere on the screen here. But it's about our protagonist, the tavern manager, Leah Barnett, can scarcely believe the path that destiny has chosen for her. This is the synopsis, y'all. Traveling from Boston to Colorado, Leah has come to face Ryder Damien, the son of her mother's recently deceased lover. Ryder, an angry, bridely, and sexy man, is incensed that this woman will inherit her father's fortune, even if he hadn't seen the man in 30 years. So there's some bitterness there, y'all. But Leah's charms are many, and soon anger is the last thing in Ryder's heart. So Beverly Jenkins is a well-known romance novelist, and I've actually never heard of her books before, but this is going to be my first one to read, and I heard it's a good one, so I can't wait. And the last book I'm going to read this month is... I know. If you've been with me a while, you know I've read this book before, How to Get Good with Money by Tiffany Aliche. But the reason I'm going to reread this book, and yes, I consider rereads as part of the reading list. There you go. Sometimes, you just got to go back. Certain times, certain books can hit you differently. So I like to reread, depending on how my heart's feeling. And the reason why I want to reread this one is because Tiffany came out with a workbook that goes along with it. So stay tuned for that, because I will definitely making a podcast episode about this. Because going to the new year, getting our finances in order is critical. So the main reason why I do these book reviews is because I never want the excuse of, there are no good books to read out as a reason for why you're not reading daily. There are a plethora of good books. If one genre doesn't work for you, try something else. If romance might be too cheesy, try a murder mystery. If murder mystery is too boring, then try, fantasy. There are different types of genres out there. And I always try to diversify my genre as well, too, so that way I'm giving you guys different options as well. Also, if any of these books that I am currently going to reread this December are books that you have read in the past, go down in the comment section and say, hey, I read this book, and tell me what you thought about it. Also, what are you reading this December? Go down in the comment section. Let's start a conversation. Let's keep this going. I always want to keep reading a daily habit because for me, it's the best form of self-care. It's time for me to just unplug from the world and dive into this whole other world. And that's what the channel is about, keeping reading a daily habit as a form of self-care. Alright, we have come now to the end of the video, but or podcast if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So as always with my, videos, podcasts, etc., I like to end with a quote from a favorite author or filmmaker or creative altogether. So this week's message comes from Judy Blume, and she states, quote, "Each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will decide where we go with the rest of our lives." And on that, I thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. We will be posting episodes weekly on Fridays now. And, all over the new. So what to look forward to in the podcast coming forward. More book reviews as always. More tips and tricks as always. And as always, I wish you all good wellness and good reading. Have a good day.